Ladies and gentlemen, I run a chess channel. And to that end, I apologize if you, for some reason, clicked on this and expected computer science, cooking, Minecraft, brain rot of some sort. I don't know. But this is a chess channel. And on this channel, I cover everything. I cover drama, I cover major stories, I cover low elo chess, high elo chess, AI chess, whatever. In this video, I'm covering some sort of high elo chess as well. In particular, played by Alexandra Botez. You may know her as the older sister of the Botez duo, her younger sister being Andrea Botez, semi-professional boxer and DJ at this point. And Alexandra recently played in a chess tournament, had a performance rating 400 plus points above her own, and won the tournament by 1.5 points ahead of the entire field. It was the best tournament performance of her life. It was so good, I couldn't even say the word performance. And I'm going to show you some of these games. They're very instructive. Your goal is to learn 3 things in this video. If you don't, you're a bozo. On that note, here we go. So the sisters traveled to Italy. Nice place to go to play some chess. Also just like nice place to go. I was there. Obviously, Italy is quite big. I'm going to take you through some of these games. In one of these games, she beat her own sister physically and also on the chessboard. I covered that game already. I'm not going to cover it again. It's in the video Botez versus Botez, which you can watch after this. Here we go. Her first round game malfunctioned. She won that game against an Italian. And in the second round, she sits down and she plays Riccardo Dieli. Italians have some of the best names, period. Another Italian. Lo and behold, she's in Italy. And her opponent plays a Banco Gambit. She's a d4, c4 player. She doesn't play the London like, you know, her goblin of a younger sister. That is actually her nickname, by the way. I think they call her La Goblina or something. I hope that means goblin. And she's a mainline player, and her opponent plays the Banco Gambit. Now, white can take on b5, and then take on a6, and that's what she does. She takes both pawns. This is the Banco Gambit accepted. And basically, white is like, I'm up a pawn, and I'm going to just consolidate. I'm going to be up a pawn for the rest of the game. And black is like, well, I'm going to, you know, ruin your right to castle. And then I'm also going to use the A and B files. Banco Gambit is one of the most potent openings that exists. And, you know, in fact, I would go as far as to say that a lot of people try to avoid it. But her opponent plays right into it. She plays right into it. She plays G3. She plays King G2. This might look a little bit brain dead to some of you watching, but it's completely feasible. The point is you need to get your king out of the center. So you put the king on G2, you fianchetto your king, and now you're going to develop your pieces. Both players are still within their theory, A4, and basically you're just like, I'm going to push my pawn, and I'm up a pawn. Now black plays knight G4. He spends 4 minutes. I think he's out of his prep. Technically, I think knight G4 is not the most accurate move. I think black has to play faster on the queen side, but it's very tough to tell the difference. But like, if you don't know that, you know, she plays queen C2, so she spends a little bit of time. And in general, white's idea is to basically meet this advance with like various forms of defense and then consolidate. And then, you know, black plays knight E5. She takes, he takes, and now she plays F4, which is a very aggressive move. And she played that very quickly. So F4, probably she thought the knight was going to go somewhere. And it was probably better for him to be more active, but he goes back. B3, queen B6, like neither player thinking too much. Finally, rook to B1. And what's funny is that rook A3 would have defended the pawn, but rook B1 doesn't defend the pawn at all because of bishop C3. Normally, you don't want to lose the rook, that's your bishop that's protecting your king, but there's just rook takes A4, which is kind of wild. And it looks like here you're going to get checkmated, but you're not. Black can play rook D4, which is kind of a tough move to spot from a distance. And then it looks like the rook is going to get trapped, but it's not. And then when you try to deliver a mate, then I'll block with the knight because my rook is no longer hanging. So black had to play bishop c3, slightly counterintuitive move. He doesn't. And now she's just able to completely blockade the queenside. And this is a worst nightmare for a Banco player. And this is why if you're going to play a gambit, you better be sure you are ready to win your material back. Because now he begins maneuvering, he puts the knight there. But in the Banco, if white is able to create this light squared blockade, white is simply going to win the game. Because you can attack on the king side, you can also play e5. And Alexandra consolidates her queen side, waits for her moment, and there it is. She brings all the pieces, and black gets absolutely nowhere. You see, white just has complete stability. This is a worst nightmare, and now this bishop is completely locked out of the game. Alexandra doesn't look back. Knight to a5 is actually a crazy blunder, by the way, because there is queen takes d5. And maybe she thought this was still winning. Maybe she thought, like, she goes knight c6 and the pawn just goes. But there was no need to allow queen d5, but her opponent missed it, knight c6, and now it's knight e7. He resigned because king f7, queen e6, and knight c6 is checkmate. And that is how you beat the Benko Gambit at the 2000 level. You accept it, you put your king on g2, you vibe. You just vibe. You do need to be a little bit careful how you do this. I would not overextend with f4. I would play very quickly knight b5, rook up, and b3. So for example, queen b6, rook a3, b3. This is like the optimal defensive setup. And then if black spends a little bit more time, you play like bishop e3, rook b1. And I mean, you will just never lose your pawns. And the Benko's tough. It's a very tough opening to play. In the next round, she played Matteo Nardoni. I mean, I love these names. I love them. I don't, I mean, like, I'm kind of stereotyping the accent, but like, dude, Italians are awesome. Like, they got good food. They got, you know, rich history, all parts of the country. Like, I went to Italy last year, and I was told every part, because Italy became a country in the 19th century. Like, there was no such thing as a country, you know? So it's different groups of people, different dialects. I learned that people within Italy can't even understand each other. Did you know that? Now you're going to pretend that you did, because you're going to pretend you're, like, knowledgeable about stuff. I didn't know that. So I was like, that's really cool. You know, it's the same way Southerners and Northerners in America can't understand each other. And it's not just an accent thing. d4, knight f6. I told you, Alexandra enjoys her main lines, and she plays the same-ish. f3 is a very sneaky move order. The idea of f3 is you secure a King's Indian defense, and you don't allow the Grunfeld. So she's gonna put her knight on c3, but she's kind of gonna force d6. And what I mean by that is normally you play knight c3, d5, take, and the knight trades. But if your opponent plays the Grunfeld, there is no knight to trade. So you're gonna get a nice position. Now, I don't think black really cared about that. I think black just wanted to play King's Indian. c5, and this one gets really aggro. Alexandra castles queenside, and black now does something interesting. So the computer here gives b5 is very strong for black. And it's kind of being played in the Benko style. But here's the difference. Compare the two. B takes a6, B takes a6, right? White is castling into the avalanche. You're buying a home when I tell you that within 6 months, something might collapse off the mountain, right? So, yeah, maybe not. But black plays a6, which makes sense to me. Alexandra takes, right? And now black is going for b5. She plays knight d4. If I'm playing black here, I'm just going b5. I don't even care. I don't care. Literally, physically, metaphorically, spiritually. Like, I would like to trade because I know that even if you win this pawn from me, I'm going here, and this is a giga Benko gambit. This is a Benko gambit where white bought that house with the avalanche coming. Now, black prepares it, and now is the last moment. You gotta go b5 here. Bro prepares it again. All right, Matteo is like the most indecisive dude. Matteo, you gotta go b5. Knight c2, the final moment. Matteo goes back. And Alexandra's like, you know what? I'm not gonna risk that again. g4. And guess what? The best move is still to play b5. Matteo did everything to play the move b5. And then he started fighting back on the king side. And she finds a beautiful combo here. Very nice combination. The most principled way to deal with flank play is to strike straight down the center. And black's position is an illusion of like stability. e5. Shreds open everything. e5 attacks the knight. If the knight moves, you're going to take. You're going to put your knight on d5. You're going to take on h5. You're going to play rook g1. It's game over. If takes, the knight loses a defender. Excuse me. The knight loses a defender first. Now the bishop loses a defender. What a combo. What a combo. She picks up a bishop. And she trades. Now black is just... Here, black could consider playing rook d8. She would just actually take and have to win this endgame. 2 rooks and the knight. I mean, you can't really use the knight yet. You gotta go slowly, but black doesn't even do that. He plays e6, and right away she just defends. And Yeah, here Matteo needed to just, you know, buckle in for the long haul, but he tries to create counterplay, and that weakens the king way too much. And Alexandra absolutely brutalizes the position, takes on h5, rook d1, and yeah. When the evaluation is a BMW type, it's time to go home. That is when it's time to go home. Or for Matteo, it's time to stay home, because they're in Italy. Yeah, very convincing game. And a game where, you know, Black did not play the major idea of the opening. He did not, you know, he didn't create this play, and she just punished him for it. I mean, she just traded very nicely. B5 was there, but he didn't do it, and she launched an attack, which is exactly what you're supposed to do. Very nice idea, chopped it all down, and another big win for her. Now, she didn't play every game with white, because then, you know, that would have been that they rigged the tournament. She played Alexandra Becker. All these people are around her strength. I mean, her strength is 1970 FIDE, and all these people are 1900. She plays knight f6. She's a King's Indian player. But her opponent, you know, played some Uga system. So she's got to, you know, figure out what to do here, right? She plays knight e4. The idea is to play c5. Her opponent plays knight e5, which is a move I cannot explain. Knight e5 is some sort of witchcraft. I don't know why Mr. Becker did not just castle his king. Or play knight d2 or c4. He was worried about something. And now she plays f6, which I don't love this move, but I mean, she's gonna try to play e5. Like, she's gonna, you know, now what you should do here probably is continue with this plan. But she goes here, the knight moves, and now she plays a5. Very imbalanced game. But this transformation really only benefits white because the bishop is a bit passive. And so Mr. Alexander just plays very normally. Actually, I should say Mr. Becker. And here, if white transitions the game properly, he will get a big advantage by taking on e4, and whatever takes back, the knight goes to c5. And the point is, it's not about this, it's about this. So black will play queen c8, and now this move, g4, traps the bishop in the center of the board. The only way to deal with this for black is to play something like g5, at which point we trade, your bishop is very passive, and it's very difficult for you to defend your pawns. But some people don't really enter forcing variations unless they see a, you know, material advantage, and he blocks the position, which is not bad, but he gets something a little bit better. And in this game, I mean, Alexandra is just clearly worse, but here she finds a very nice idea. This is actually very, very smart. If she waits, white is going to steamroll her. So she trades knights, she trades the bishop, and she replaces all her pawns on light squares. She spent a lot of time here. This is the top engine line. Trade, play f5, because sometimes in chess, you gotta shut up. Actually, some of you could benefit from that advice generally. You gotta shut up, and you just gotta play the best moves based on the position. It's ugly. I mean, I gotta tell you, closing the position like this, it's ugly, but it's the best because otherwise white was gonna overwhelm you and win. So rook c1, e6. Everything is solid. Rook c2, very nice play by white, trying to put pressure on the queen side. Bishop f8, trading the bishop. I mean, what are you gonna do? That bishop sucks. So bishop back to b2. Bishop to b4, okay. Takes, and now b6. Which was a mistake. It was better for Alexandra to keep the structure like this. Why? Because anytime white takes, you take with the e-pawn, and you do this. So you wait. You just wait. Play knight d7. You can't get much, but you gotta wait, and now in a perfect world, what'll happen is you'll go queen b4, and this trade is very nice for black with pressure. But b6 now means you can't defend this pawn so easily. And Alexandra, I get it. I get what she was trying to do, but she gave white all the play. And what he has to do, he's got to take this pawn. And that's kind of counterintuitive, considering I just said you don't want to do that. But the advantage is that after c, d, e, d, this is not weak, and this is super weak. Queen e7, so there's this moment, they're shuffling, and now the position explodes, and suddenly Alexandra's better. Alexander did not play the right way against Alexandra, and she goes to an endgame with some play. Her king is a little bit weak, but she's defending. It's a very complicated game. And suddenly she's winning. She had a bad position for like 33 moves, and a winning one for 1 move. Queen e3, queen e1, queen c3, rook a1, and rook a2 are all winning. Rook a2 threatens mate, and there's, you know, you just hide your king on h6. Bishop f1, And now black wins by playing knight c5. Disconnecting these two, and the rook is trapped. Rook c5, queen e3, take, you win. Alexandra misses it. Hides her king first, and now it's game on. Now it's game on, and now Mr. Becker tries to trade the pieces. Alexandra's winning by getting her rook into the game. She plays rook h8, she plays here. It's now back to complicated, but here it's just time trouble. King g7, and white has been reduced to passivity, and it's just a matter of time. And yeah, Alexander had to play g4, but instead he plays e4, which is just kind of a desperation move, and I don't really know what the big idea was, because now, unfortunately, the pawns in front of his king will fall, and Alexandra cleans up and ends the game up 3 pawns. A complicated fight. She's just going to convert it, and she's going to move on to another perfect score. She had a perfect score in this event for a very long time. At some point, she also beat her sister. She traded, king f2, and here white resigned because of all of this. So, complicated battle. Back and forth. All right. She had another game with black. Playing her French. The patented French defense. All her openings were tested. d4, d5. e5, c5. She played bishop to d7, which is one of the systems. And the idea is rook c8 and to trade. And here her opponent played h4, which I don't. I don't know. While she was traveling Europe, Italy, Germany, France, I don't know what Mr. Hugh Benoit was like drinking before this game, but it was potent. Now she played f6, which is a very principled move, and she got this trade and played queen c7. And this is basically what you do in the French. Your king is a bit open, but there's nothing there. White plays bishop f4 and h5, and now actually it's very justified, this move. And Alexandra plays long castles, but now white gets knight g5. So actually Mr. Hughes looks like a genius. Rook g8, and now knight, look at this. Oh my. Alexandra's just losing. It's crazy. She's straight up losing this game. But she doesn't give up. She plays g5, which is the best move. She's ready to give up this rook. And she's ready to create counterplay by taking on e5. Look at that. Bishop h2, now knight f5. Okay, we activating some pieces. Knight d8, king d8. Knight d2, she takes in the center. So she's down a rook for a knight and a pawn. I mean, it's complicated. White is better, but it's complicated. Queen c2, g4, nice move. Covering the f3 square, now nothing can go there. Now she plays c4. She's completely encroaching. White is still better. White is still better because white's going to put some pressure on that knight, but she's defending herself. Now he takes, and he plays g3, and he kind of does that to control the pieces. Bishop d6 back, protecting. Knight f1, rerouting. Now bishop e8. By the way, who's protecting this pawn? And white just panics here. He sacrifices a bishop. He sacrifices a bishop to get to black, but it's dubious. And Alexandra plays queen f7, and everything is protected. Not only is everything protected, black is getting counterplay on white, so white's got to get out of there. And now you just got 2 bishops for the rook. I mean, very nice counterplay from Alexandra. King a1, and she just goes straight down the middle. You're going to take, my knight is going to get in. Very nice move, d3, anchoring the pawn in the white position. It's just going to be an issue in every endgame. Knight takes g3, you cannot take the rook because of the pin. Queen a7, and she just takes. You can give me all the checks you want, I block. This looks scary. A lot of people would avoid this position, but black is completely safe. Black is completely safe. Not only is black completely safe, white completely malfunctions. Rook to f1, queen back to c6 protecting. Rook to f6 looks very scary. But just queen c5. Just queen c5. And Alexandra's doing a nice job managing her time. The king walks all the way to safety. Game is over. Next move is rook g1. Trade the rooks, get to the back rank. Queen d8. She plays queen c7, and white just resigns. Straight up resigns. He resigns because the options are trade the queens, and once you trade the queens, this is over because these bishops just go over here and escort the pawn. The alternative was to play queen here, which would lose a rook to bishop e5. This was crazy because from the opening, white played this ridiculous system, but Alexandra struck back with g5, which was a very nice move at this, like, in terms of the practicality of the position. The computer liked white's position, but black had a lot of space and a very difficult structure to break through. Here, white needed to find knight e4, and then bishop e5, and then queen e4. This is how he had to sacrifice. But he just did it the wrong way. And I mean, it's not even clear why this is better. So another win for her. So she was winning games confidently, and she was winning games from positions that were bad. She was winning games in positions that were unpleasant. d4, d5. Here's another queen's gambit. Takes, takes. She plays bishop f4. This is an exchange queen's gambit decline. There is not much happening here. Bishop d3. Takes, takes. And she castles long, which is very bold. You go long castles this late into a tournament because you've won every game you've played. I mean, you just get a different level of confidence, right? So bishop to e6, knight to e2. Now, when you're playing against an isolated pawn like black has, black wants to trade to get some advantages, but not all the pieces, because the more pieces you trade, the bigger this weakness becomes. So we have knight b4, and now we have knight e4, which is bold. Black should probably bring the rooks first. By the way, if you're confused between Carlo Molinari, the first guy named Dieli, and the second player, whose name I can't remember, yeah, all those guys sound like, dude, I love Italian names. Like, amazing. I wish I had an Italian name. What would my Italian name be? It would be like, would I be a Luigi? Because I'm an L. I would be Leonardo Rosmanini. Oh, right there. Boom. That's my Roman name. Beautiful. You know, there used to be the rap name generator. There used to be your Wu-Tang. Remember that? Like Wu-Tang name calculator or whatever? Oh my god, amazing stuff. Knight to e4. Now she trades, and this leaves a big weakness in the center. Knight to f4, and black just gets a little bit too courageous here. Queen e7. The best move here for white is the very simple queen d6. And what this does is force a queen trade, after which white is much better because you're going to trade and then you're going to win the pawn. Bishop f5 is possible, but rook b6 is a fork. Knight to d3 is possible, but after trading and simply taking a pawn, or even playing e4 first, e4 first might be better, white is just going to win a pawn and probably win this one momentarily. Alexandra trades on e6 first, which is okay, but now you're not guaranteed a queen trade. So we get into, instead of that, a very complicated and locked battle where this knight is a Giga Chad. But Alexandra has won every game, and that is where you get confidence to play moves like g4. The best move is for black to take and call the bluff. Black does not take and call the bluff. White opens up the g file. f4 is now creating a very powerful outpost, and black blunders. Black blunders with queen e4. And queen e4, knight e4. Or wait a minute, did black blunder? Rook e4, rook d3, but knight b2! Oh, a very nice move. Now knight to d6. Rooks are hanging all over the place, and it's finally looking like Alexandra is not going to win a game. I mean, knight and 4 versus knight and 4. You're not going to win this. King d3, g6, knight comes back, knight c5. Yeah, you know, I mean, black's just way too active. What are you going to do? Knight c3, king f7, and suddenly the position is getting a little bit tactical, and black needs to be careful, and black needs to play knight c3, but plays knight f6, and now rook c7, and e5, and Alexandra's winning again, because after knight d5, there's rook d7. Rook d7, and you win because the knight is hanging. Knight b6, rook b7, and you're just gonna win the pawn. But, okay, she plays rook a7, and black is still feeling the pressure. Still feeling the pressure, and he's probably going to lose this pawn, and now you're a pawn down, and you've got 30 seconds. Okay, you got your time back. Now you should probably make the draw. King g4, knight e4. Uh-oh. No. The king is going to walk in. Would have even been better to play king h6 with rook a7, but suddenly Alexandra gets way too active, and she's 2 pawns up again, and you can't play rook f5, because after this, you get mated. You get mated. But first you have to play knight f6, and then you get mated. King h8, there is this, and king f8, you have a fork. And Alexandra battles and battles and battles. And I mean, she, like, sometimes in a tournament like this, you do need a little bit of luck for everything to go right. You need a little, but in chess, you make your own luck. It's not like drawing a card. You know, opponent making a mistake is a skill issue, but you make your own luck in chess, and sometimes you create winning chances out of thin air. And this was her last round of the tournament. Her opponent was the highest seed, 1990, in an under 2000 section. Some of you may have been watching this and going, why is she only playing people who are 1900? She played in the under 2000 section. You were not allowed to be over 2000. So, and she played, now, Dejan Dimitrov. Now, Dejan, or Dejan, I don't know how they would say it, but I would think he actually beat Andrea. So he beat her younger sister. The older sister shows up and puts the King's Indian on the board. And the funny thing about this game is they copied each other. He played a King's Indian attack. She played a King's Indian defense. We got our imbalance like this. Now it's kind of a Sicilian with e4, c5. It's kind of a very weird and locked Sicilian. And we get into a maneuvering battle, right? Both sides looking at those squares in the center. Knight h4, and now very principled b5. Play where you have space. Knight e3, a5. Taking space. Now he plays a4, she plays b4. Big moment. What are you going to do as white? Bishop f3. Not really sure what that does, but she plays h5 because she was concerned about something going to the g4 square. He plays knight g2. I don't know what that does either. She takes and plays rook b8. I completely understand what that does. It opens the b file. Computer hated it though. But at least I understand what Alexandra's trying to do. Develops the bishop, queens, knights. It's a very close position, and I think only really white can control the breakthroughs. If white goes for f4 or d4, we are going to get somewhere. Unless black goes for a breakthrough, which is also possible. Rook here, we trade, we kick out the piece. Now Alexandra. That is that almost undefeated score talking. You just give up a pawn here, but you're looking to get to the e4 square. White plays dc. She takes on e4. Now the position's going to open up. Bishop c2, rook b8. I mean, what the heck is going on? Bishop to f6, queen e2. Now knight b6. Wait a minute. We're going to trade this rook. And this was Alexandra's plan all along. Those weaknesses that she created with the pawn play. But queen d3. Wait a minute. Which way are you going to take? Can you take? What about the pawn here? Defense. So she defends this pawn and c4 is going to fall. That's it. She's going to win something. He goes for crazy counterplay. Knights, she takes with the bishop. Okay. Queen e4. And now black just wins with d5. One mover. She wins the entire tournament with a discovered attack. Right there. Queen e4. Unbelievable. She's just winning. She trades though. She trades and then she plays bishop f8 and she's not better anymore that much. It would have been better to go here and simply go after this pawn. So she kind of gets lost in the complications. She plays bishop f8 and now she's better, but it's still complicated. You got to go d5. Good move. Now you could play e4. She plays bishop c5 first and now she plays e4. Okay, this looks very convincing. Okay, I'm playing black here. I build the whole structure and then I start bringing my pieces. She plays knight e8, fancy move, trying to go to b6. And, oh, now he plays f5. He gives her another pawn. He's trying to be 2 pawns down, but win the pawn back. She goes here. Now her pawns are disconnected. And suddenly he's back in the game. He's threatening knight d5. He's threatening all these different things. Bishop d6. And there it is. Oh, no. Oh, no. Knight takes. Bishop c4. Knight c3. And the question is with white, where do you move your king? Because you're going to lose this pawn. Now you would think, oh, easy, king e3, knight a4, king e4, right? Take, 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 draw. Yeah, a draw. But it's actually better to go here. And when the knight gets here, that's when you come here, because nobody can protect this pawn. Knight c3, bishop b2 pins to the king. Knight c5, bishop d5, or bishop a3. For those of you confused, this is an easy draw. Opposite colored bishops. You sacrifice the pawn, it's an easy draw. So, he plays this, and I just told you that move is bad, and now Alexandra finishes her tournament by uncorking like a 9-move combination. Bishop c5 check, the king goes forward, king to f6, threatening checkmate. White plays g4, g5 forcing the king backwards. h4 forcing the king backwards, and now in this and only this position do you take on a4, and this pawn cannot be taken. Black ends with 2 pawns up. Knight c3, both pawns are going. Both pawns are escorted. Now it doesn't matter if the bishops become of opposite color, because black is simply up 2 pawns. Bishop c2, king e5, bishop c1, knight d5. She loses the pawn, but she plays knight e3, and this is a winning endgame. You cannot stop 2 pawns like this. e3, king e4, king goes there, and that's it. The game is over. Alexandra Botez wins this tournament with 7.5 out of 9. She made 3 draws, and she won 6 games. Undefeated, undisputed, under 2000 section champion of the Sardinia Open, with a performance rating of 2352, which is higher than my rating. She performed against this field like a 2352 should. And she gained like 65 rating points, so she's now going to be 2030. Very impressive performance. Very impressive games. Shows you how you can get to the 2000 level. If any of you have those questions, like how do I get to 2000 over the board? She's like a 2300 online player, 2400 online player. She's 2000 over the board. You got to have pretty decent openings. You got to kind of understand your openings. Blunders happen, and ultimately it's the person that makes the last mistake that wins. So, hope you enjoyed this video. Now get out of here.